Hello there and welcome to another video by the MXQ project. So the last video we done was on this retro gaming coffee table, and since then, well, I've completed it. It's totally and utterly finished, and this video I'm going to be showing you around exactly what I did to put this together. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. What do you think of this coffee table? I'm going to walk around it, of course, and show you all the ins and outs of it over the course of this video. But to get started, I chose a Corona pine coffee table. Now these are available on Amazon, and it's part of a range of different pieces of furniture. This is really quite cheap for what it is, and it was about 40 UK pounds, I think. If you go into stores in the UK, you can actually buy these as well, and they normally retail for about twice that price. So pretty good price, I think, for this sort of coffee table. It's very nice, I think. It's very rustic looking. It is coated in a wax. Now the problem with that is a lot of you guys maybe want to buy this and maybe want to varnish it. You're not going to varnish too well over wax, and you might come across a few issues, but I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to varnish it, so I wasn't too fussed. So the first thing I needed to do when I got this, I had to assemble it. It's obviously flat packed. And the second thing I needed to do, I needed to create the hole for the screen. So this screen here is a HP IPS display. The reason I chose IPS is because it's got good viewing angles, and when you're obviously sitting like this playing on games, you want decent viewing angles. TFT monitors aren't great for that, and we've shown you on previous coffee tables we've done, they're not very good, but you know, they do the job. So it just depends on your budget. TFT monitors usually go for about 10 or 15 quid. I mean, that monitor there, that was about £60, and you can pay upwards of as much as you want really for an IPS display, and that's an older IPS as well. That has a VGA connection, so I had to get a converter to actually use the Raspberry Pi in this coffee table. So once I'd cut that, then you could obviously mount your screen, but we'll get onto the mounting part next. The first thing I want to show you is the actual joystick setup, and here we are. So this was probably one of the most annoying parts of this build. It was quite difficult to actually put together. I went through a few different iterations of the actual design itself, and I finally made up with this one. So obviously we've just got a 6-button setup here. I've added an extra button, that's just to exit out of MAME when you're actually using it. And obviously we've got our joystick here. Underneath here there's a little circuit board, and all these wires connect into that circuit board, and it converts it into a USB, and that connects into your Raspberry Pi, and it's just recognised as another controller. Now this is just mounted on 2 brackets, just 2 brackets, I think they're called, butt hinges, I think it was called, just 2 here, and then we've got a magnet just on the bottom here and a magnet underneath there. Now when you're building this, you need to make sure that this isn't going to knock when it's going back in here, so when you put it back in. Now the first iteration of this, shown on the other video, I placed the joystick up here. Now it worked, but unfortunately the joystick was too close to the actual table, and it was just hitting it, and you couldn't get your hand properly around it, and it was just causing issues. So the only way around that is to obviously place the joystick up here, but you've got to remember, if the joystick's going to be up here, it's going to hit, and it's not going to be able to put your drawer back. So there's a little bottom panel here. It's just a bit of plywood that's actually sits on the bottom of the drawer. Now it's a good idea to keep that in place because it helps protect all the wires and cables, etc. that's sitting underneath here. But you do need to cut a little bit of it away. So this drawer, this mount here, can actually just sit a little bit lower. So it allows this joystick just to sit below here, and it goes back. So I've just cut it out just on the bottom here, and it just allows it to sit back, and then I can put the drawer back, and it's just as simple as that. And I didn't figure that out just up until maybe a week ago. I didn't really think of it that way, but we got there in the end. And obviously on the front here we've got our start and a select button as well. Now let's move on to the actual inside of the table and I'll show you what I've done there. So moving on to the actual inside of the coffee table to show you guys how it all works basically. So as I mentioned at the start, the screen is removable. I don't think I mentioned that, but the one objective I wanted to do with this coffee table was to make the screen removable. On previous generations of the coffee tables we've designed, you couldn't do that, and basically we just attached loads of wood and basically glued it all into place and it was permanent basically. But they were on cheaper TFT monitors as well as that, they were on cheap coffee tables as well. Whereas this one, this is more, you know, this is probably the best one we've ever done, and I just wanted to make it, you know, that bit better. So I had to think about how it was going to be done. So these two pieces of wood have basically a little lip just here, just on the side here. And basically that little lip just allows it to hold on to it. So obviously this little depth of wood has to be kind of the same size as the screen. Ours isn't quite the same size. I couldn't find the right size wood and I don't have the tools to actually make my own. So I just got as close as I could. And basically I just propped it up with some foam pads and it works perfectly. It holds the screen nice and tight to the actual top of the actual wood. As well as that, this is permanently glued in, these three bits of wood just here, and on the top here we've basically just screwed 3 screws in, and then if you ever need to remove the screen, if it becomes damaged or something like that, you want to replace it, you can just remove the screws and this just literally slides out, no problems whatsoever there. Now moving on to the rest of the table, we've got the actual insides of the actual, you know, arcade joystick just here, and as you can see just here, that here is our magnet, and this basically clips onto it, onto here when you actually pull it out. And yeah, that's pretty much the gist of that. And there's 2 little stoppers as well. Now we've got Raspberry Pi just sat here. I can't show you it, but it's nothing exciting. It's just a Raspberry Pi, and it's all wired up nice and neatly. As you can see, it's all the wires are held in place. And we've got a power supply just here, and on the back of the table, just switches on and off. And yeah, these are just like kind of classic arcade style cabinet, you know, 3-pin kettle plug things. And yeah, we've got our speakers as well. Speakers, very good speakers here, and we can control the volume just on the back here. You can't actually see that on camera, but I've just wired it in so you can easily access the volume rocker. And these 2 brackets here are helping support this actual, you know, the tabletop. And these brackets are very strong, and it won't just randomly fall down or anything like that. It will help hold it very, very securely, and it's just very easy just to pull against it and it comes down, but it won't fall down by itself or anything like that. The thing is though, these brackets, although they are very good, they are very expensive at the same time. So if you wanted that, it is entirely optional. If you wanted to actually, if you were thinking of building a table like this, you know, you don't need that. You just need the 2, you know, brackets as shown just here. The only reason I've done it like this is if you want to sit back on your couch and play some retro games rather than sitting right up close to the coffee table, you can. So there's 2 options there, having it opened or closed, whichever you want. The rest of the components even, like the Raspberry Pi, the speakers and the power supply, cables, etc., they're just held in by some Velcro, basically. I've opted to do that. If you ever want to replace any of it, you can. It's not stuck down, it's not permanent. I mean, if you wanted to upgrade your Raspberry Pi at some point, you could just unclip it and, you know, clip in the new Raspberry Pi, basically. And yeah, it's all wired up nice and neatly, and there we go. So that's pretty much it. So should we turn it on? Let's have a look. So I've got it mounted with the screen up. And one thing I never mentioned was the actual, you know, plastic tabletop, but that's optional as well, you don't need that. I've stolen some splash screens as well. I quite like these splash screens, or intro videos, whatever you want to call them. The actual sound is off. I've got 3 intros on here at the moment, and I've set them up to be completely random, and it just selects them at random. And one thing I didn't mention as well was the USB port on the front. And you can plug in your Xbox controller if you want to. So there we have it. And yeah, it's just RetroPie. Once it loads up, it'll start emulation station just in a second. And here we go. So this is just one of the skins available on RetroPie. You download it, and you can connect this quite easily to the internet. So you just need an Ethernet cable. If you really want to, you connect a Wi-Fi dongle if you want to, but I'm not too bothered about that. And yeah, I've preloaded it with a bunch of games, and this is just one of the many skins that you can have. So Game Boy Advance. So RetroPie is completely customizable as well. So if you want to change anything, you can. It's quite easy. You can hear the sound in the background. It won't come across very well on the microphone, but it's not too bad. So like I was saying before, there's two options to actually play this. Like this, like I've just shown you, or we can actually put this tabletop down, and I'll do that right now. And here we have it. So tabletop's down. I'm not sure if it's actually shining the light or anything. So here we have it. So we can very easily, the actual joystick is very secure, lots of space now that it's been redesigned just ever so slightly, and yeah, loads of space for your hands, and everything's running nice and smooth. And if we want to, thanks for watching the video, guys. The sound quality probably wasn't the best in this video. It's mainly because the microphone was so far away from me during the recording. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. That would be fantastic, and it would help our channel a great deal. If you haven't already, go and check out the website, themsqproject.com, and check out the Facebook group and of course Twitter. And if you've got any questions about this coffee table, don't hesitate to ask me in the comment section below. Thanks again, guys, and we shall see you very soon.